Have you ever wondered why dunking this rich, deeply roasted chocolate cookie into a simple glass of cold milk feels practically like a holy ritual? It is an equation of pure temptation. Two crispy, dark chocolate wafers sandwiching a smooth, dreamy vanilla cream center. The world didn't just love it. We became obsessed with that perfect mouth-watering crunch. A simple, delicious treat became an art form, and a billion-dollar mechanical mission that runs relentlessly every single day. But before the stamping machine can crank out millions of delicious bites, the ingredients must be controlled with surgical precision. High-protein flour is strictly banned to prevent activating gluten. They carefully sift local all-purpose flour to ensure the cookie delivers that signature light, satisfying crunch instead of a tough bite. And to pair beautifully with the rich, sweet cream, the fine granulated sugar in the dough is capped at exactly 15% of the dry ingredients. This calculated balance guarantees an incredibly smooth finish, preventing the surface from cracking. But who actually engineered this flawless canvas? In 1912, the National Biscuit Company, what we now know as the massive Nabisco Empire, wanted to create a cookie that didn't just taste good, but stood out with a simple yet totally iconic design. They needed a perfectly smooth, sturdy surface to proudly stamp their signature wreath of flowers and the word Oreo right in the center. To make that iconic logo pop, they had to forge an abyss-like black color. And to achieve that dark temptation, regular chocolate simply wouldn't work. Back in 1912, Nabisco knew that natural cocoa would only produce a light brown cookie with a slightly sour taste. That totally wasn't the iconic vibe they were aiming for. To fulfill their vision of an intense dark temptation, they deployed a calculated chemical process, alkalization. Millions of carefully selected cacao beans from Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, and Indonesia are roasted and crushed. But the real magic happens when they treat the cocoa powder with an alkalizing agent. This neutralizes the natural acidity, stripping away the tanginess to forge that abyss-like black color and a mellow, smooth chocolate flavor. Inside heavy-duty industrial mixers, the historical equation is assembled. 40% flour, 25% alkalized dark cocoa, 15% sugar, and 15% fat. A heavy stream of canola oil is poured in, violently churning and binding these dry ingredients into a smooth, sticky matrix. When water is finally added, the mixture turns into a thick, heavy chocolate soup. But here is where the process gets brutal. To prevent the dough from overheating and ruining that perfect crunch, the factory executes a rapid thermal shock. Workers toss blocks of dry ice directly into the mixing vortex. As the dry ice evaporates, it rapidly drops the temperature, forcing the dough to chill and submit for exactly 30 minutes. This extreme cooling ensures the cold dough is much easier to handle and won't crack when rolled out. Finally, a leavening agent is injected, preparing this dark, flawless mass for the shaping station. Once the dark, chilled dough is ready, it is scooped onto a steel conveyor belt and fed into giant rollers. These heavy cylinders press the mass into those familiar little circles, preparing them for the ultimate psychological mark. Instantly, the stamping machine strikes. It relentlessly presses the iconic Oreo logo and that intricate wreath pattern onto every single cookie. This is not just decoration, it is calculated manipulation. Slapping this cool, iconic logo onto the surface boosts the cookie's visual appeal by almost 90%, tricking the brain into anticipating a more delicious bite. Operating at a frantic pace, this shaping machine cranks out up to 6,000 perfectly stamped Oreos every single hour. But the raw cookies are still soft. To forge their signature armor, they continue down the line and march straight into a massive industrial oven. This isn't just an oven. It is a mind-blowing 400-foot-long inferno. Inside, the heat is cranked up and held steady at a ruthless 360 degrees Fahrenheit. They are imprisoned in this heat for exactly 10 to 12 minutes, just enough time to evaporate the moisture and forge that perfect crispy shell without turning them rock hard. The result is a light, crunchy shield ready to protect the sweet cream center. The moment they escape the oven, they are blasted with cool air from giant industrial fans. This rapid temperature drop instantly locks in that perfect crunch and stabilizes their structural integrity. As this living, swirling river of dark chocolate twists through the factory, sharp-eyed workers stand guard. With zero tolerance for imperfection, any cookie that is cracked, misshapen, or slightly too toasty is snatched off the line in a flash. Only the absolute best of the best survive to meet the cream. While the cookies survive the oven, the creamy vanilla filling is being engineered with ruthless precision. It all starts with the key ingredients: powdered sugar, vegetable fat, corn syrup, vanilla flavoring, and a calculated drop of emulsifier. The powdered sugar and fat are dumped straight into giant mixing tanks, where high-speed mixers violently whip them together. Once they form a smooth, fluffy mass, corn syrup is slowly injected. This gives the cream its signature stretchiness and helps it stay moist, while the sweet vanilla flavoring is blended in to create that irresistible aroma. But this isn't just mixing, it is a strict chemical prison. The entire environment is heavily controlled, kept exactly between 68 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. If it gets any hotter, the oil will separate. Any colder, and it loses its silky texture. This specific temperature ensures the cream stays soft enough to flow, but thick enough to hold its perfect shape. Any batch that fails to meet this high standard is immediately pulled off the line. Once the emulsion is perfected, it is loaded into an automated pumping system. Tiny mechanical nozzles synchronize perfectly with the rushing cookie assembly line. Half of the dark Oreo cookies are neatly lined up, facing upward like empty shields. With surgical accuracy, the nozzles precisely squeeze out a perfect swirl of vanilla filling onto the center of every single one. Then comes the final collision. The other half of the cookies gently drop from above, pressing down just enough to spread the cream evenly to the very edge without ruining the clean, iconic look. Everything runs like clockwork at a blistering, insane speed. Each line cranks out a staggering 3,000 finished Oreos every single minute. Once sandwiched together, this living river of cookies plunges straight into a rapid cooling tunnel. The sudden chill firms up the cream, permanently locking the three separate layers into one solid, indestructible unit. The fully assembled Oreos survive the chilling tunnel and flow straight into the automated packing station. Here, human intervention ends. Super-skilled robot fingers take over the endless black and white river. With absolute ruthless precision, these mechanical claws neatly divide the flow, grouping the cookies into precise sets of exactly 11. Mechanical clamps gently grab each bundle, lifting them up and placing them carefully into waiting plastic trays. Once the trays are full, they are sent over to the sealing station. A heat sealer sweeps across, wrapping millions of these dark, tempting cookies tightly in plastic film. Packed into boxes and loaded onto pallets, they are shipped all over the world. They flood distributors, dominate supermarkets, and eventually land right onto your kitchen shelf. The 1912 equation has fulfilled its mission. The billion-dollar machine never stops. But let's be honest, keeping these cookies sealed up for more than a few minutes once they are home is practically impossible. What is your all-time favorite Oreo flavor? Drop a comment down below. We would love to hear it. If you enjoyed this mechanical deep dive, smash that like button, share it with your fellow Oreo lovers, and hit subscribe with the notification bell on so you don't miss out on how the world's most iconic things are actually made. Trust the process.